Good evening. I'd like to call to order, and if we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call?
Yes. Ms. Schellenberger? Mr. Brugan?
Here.
Mr. Trinkle?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Carano?
Here.
Mr. Stadelman?
I am here.
Mr. Kraus?
Here.
And Ms. Ware?
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for everybody coming out tonight. Full board. And if we can get a motion for the approval of the minutes from the February 3rd meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the meetings of February 3rd, 2026 for the
Thank you,
Natural
Carl.
Resources Board.
Can we get a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Donna. Is there any nays? Not seeing any. Oh, wait, let's have a voice vote. We're yays, all
Aye.
Yay.
Aye. For approval. And any nays? Not seeing any. Minutes are approved. Moving on to item 5, announcements. Do we have any announcements today, Ms. Gordian? Okay.
I have one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yes. We
Oh,
have one, Ms. Ware.
the art club has a show in the park this Saturday from 10 till 3. So please come down. It's a beautiful day. It's free, and you get outside. See ya
Where is it?
at Riverview Park.
Okay, at the art club is having a gallery showing at the Riverview Park from 10 to 3 this Saturday. All right, fantastic. Thanks for all you do there. You know, I actually hear people out in the city talk about the art club. So you guys are really a lot more busier than what I would see. Is there any other announcements?
So I have an announcement.
Go right ahead.
This Saturday as well, here at the city parking lot, will be our second Treasure Coast mobile food drop-off for anybody that wants to come from, I think, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock
Is that this Saturday?
this Saturday.
8 o'clock to 10 o'clock? Is that the same type of food drop we did last time?
That's the same type of food drop.
You know, you almost should call that something else because that was a pretty expansive food drop. You know, the first time you did it, when you said food drop, I'm thinking like little brown baggies or something. No, you're talking boxes of bagged potatoes, 4 gallons of milk, whatever special meals they're preparing, and how many did you do last time? With over 300 or something?
I think it was 300. We actually got new numbers. We just met with them. Actually, I wasn't able to meet with them, but there are new numbers, and so we're discussing it. But between December and February's, what month is this? March? February's, there was probably 600 cars because the December distribution, it was actually double the size as what was here in Sebastian for the food they provided, and it is a lot, and for those in need.
Oh yeah, I mean for a temporary need, I don't know how sustainable a public food drive is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can always do it from now on, and you kind of want everybody to be able to sustain themselves without the food drive, but when we need it, it's there, and that's real great. So that's this Saturday from 8 till 10.
Yep.
Line up from the Main Street around City Hall.
Yes.
Coming from the east entrance, and they line them all up, so first come, first serve as it's there, and it's a lot there. So it's this Saturday, 8 to 10. And is there any type of banner link we can get to post?
If you're interested, I can share with the board after this meeting the information from the Treasure Coast Food Bank and their links and their registration and all the information they have on that. So if if you're interested in volunteering for them, they'll have their own registration link. But if it is something that you're just looking to share the information so more people in the public can attend and be a participant, a recipient of the food distribution, I'll make sure that that information is all there for you.
Maybe even get Avery to post it on our city's website if we can. I don't know if that's possible or not. And
I'm not sure. When we discussed it with them yesterday, they are looking into kind of redoing some of their flyers because one of the things that had come up for the Treasure Coast Food Bank is that their scheduling was kind of in flux for a while. They are used to having it very consistent. Then for a while it was kind of in flux and alternating dates and locations. And so now they're kind of coming into another season where things are going to be more consistent. So they are planning on pushing out flyers to the public that are going to have consistent dates and times and locations on them. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that. I'm not sure if we'll be able to distribute that this week, but whatever information they do have available, we'll make sure that we share, and I'll get that to you all.
okay. Yep. So we'll post it as we can, and we'll share it with whoever, and come down as you need it.
Yeah, and if you get onto the Treasure Coast Food Bank's webpage, there's the volunteer form, because you do have to sign a form and a waiver if you want to volunteer to help out. And it does on their calendar, it shows for Sebastian, because talking a little bit with Krista, so after it comes from Sebastian, it'll go to Fellsmere, so they're trying to have a set date and time, working towards that. But then Felicia and I are working towards, going beyond the mobile unit and a permanent location.
Excellent. Get us a kitchen. Get him in there cooking. One of the things, is there anything else additional on that?
No.
Okay, great. Is there any additional announcements from anybody? One of the things we've tried to encourage as a board from when I first started is a kind of one for all for one mentality. So, and for me, what that means is if Daniel's doing something or Donna has an art event, as she's doing it, we're doing it. As we're doing it for everybody. So whatever Daniel's doing down here, it reflects good for the citizenry and this board, as well as those who put us here, because that's who we serve at the present.
Okay, I'm going to be doing a lot of digging in my garden over the next couple of weeks, so, if that's going to be an all hands on
That's actually a good project. All hands on deck. I try keep getting my car washed. So we have garden and car wash. Neither one of us are going to get what we want. I can see this. Is there any other announcements? Okay, I'm not seeing any. We'll move on to agenda modifications. Is there any agenda modifications needed tonight? Okay, not seeing any. Move on to number 7. Any public input? And not seeing any. Is anybody on Zoom?
No, at this time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you guys for what you do behind the scenes back there. I just hear your voice. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to number 8, unfinished business. And we'll talk first about the Great Air Potato Roundup debrief. You want to go ahead, Ms. Felicia?
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who was able to be there that day and for the support of the event in general. As a final total for the amount of air potatoes that were collected this time around, it was 59.74 pounds approximately of air potatoes, but that does not include all the other invasive vegetation that was removed during the event. Many plants, including scheffleras and carrot woods and Brazilian peppers and rosary pea, were also removed during that, and so we didn't take a total poundage of how much of that material was removed. I know I myself wanted to get more hands-on involved this year, so I was pulling as many scheffleras and carrot woods as I could out of the ground. We did have some folks that went off into some other areas of the stormwater park and had more success in some areas than others in finding air potato. So I think one really important point for next year is we may consider if we are going to do it at stormwater park again, that we may shift our focus to another region of the park so that way we can make sure to tackle as much as possible. One of the things that we kind of did consider in conversation with the Pelican Island Audubon Society is that perhaps because we had done this effort last year in this particular region of the park, that we kind of exhausted a lot of the air potatoes, that we got a lot of it out. So in the search of trying to find anything this time around, in conjunction with the fact that all the vines have died back, so it's making it even more difficult to find, that perhaps we did mitigate some of it from popping back up again. So fingers crossed, and we'll continue, these efforts going forward. And of course, if there are other locations that any of you see out in the public that need an air potato roundup or any other weed wrangle or any other event of this type, please let me know. I did actually have a resident reach out to me after the most recent air potato roundup, and I haven't been out to the site to see it myself, but Garden Club Park on the far side of the pond, opposite of where our most recent landscaping project was, that there may be some air potato problems over there. So we'll have to take a look, we'll have to investigate and see if this is something that we want to pursue further, even if it's just a small scale NRB, maybe a few volunteers, or if we do want to do a full-fledged roundup or weed wrangle. But these are just some things to keep in mind. And Dan, I don't know if you'd like to share anything else from your experience.
Well, the one thing, I'd also like to thank the Sebastian Police Department, the community care unit. They came out there with their trailer and provided popcorn. That was nice. And then, it was, we have to talk. We're going to debrief. We were going to do it today, but we had to make other arrangements. There was, I don't know if it was the date. There were, 2 years ago, and they hit it. It seemed like when I first went 2 years ago, they hit it pretty hard, and they were, they had chainsaws cutting down all the invasive plants and stuff like that. I don't know if, for Valentine's Day, we did have some kids, and it was good because we gave them some awards, and we had prizes for the adults as well, so that was good. But we do need to talk, but I wanted to thank the Sebastian Police Department for bringing their trailer. We did order some beetles, but they take 3 months to come, and so they're not here yet. And so we will be releasing them sometime as soon as we get them. So we may go out there for the day and meet and release the beetles and stuff. But next year we'll get an early order in for the beetles.
Will that be Ringo or Paul?
Both.
Beatles. Wow, that's really great. It's nice to hear that your work is paying off because you're not finding as much when you go back the following year, and that's the big thing, and that's really what it's all about. Is there any more comment on that?
One more comment. I will say, so we did have the freeze shortly before that, which kind of helped and hurt us in some ways. The freeze, it killed back all the air potato leaves, so they were hard to identify where they were, but it froze other invasive plants like the Schefflera, and those were really easy to grab, and we surprisingly were able to get humongous Schefflera trees out of there, which normally would have been a huge feat, but because they were frozen to the root, were easy to just knock down and grab. So the freeze definitely affected which species we were able to target, but it was good and bad in some ways. So.
Well, that was good. It helped you get more stuff out.
Yeah.
So good timing there, however we want to look at it. I'd also like to thank, I think Fred Jones was out there. So I'd like to thank our mayor because he's super active in our community, and anybody else who's out there. Is there any other comments?
I just have one quick comment, and I think back to the last Earth Day that we had, and we had the butterflies, if you remember that, and that was a really big draw to our table, et cetera. And so I'm just curious, these air potato bugs, I mean, the kind of thing, if you put them in an aquarium and you put some air potatoes in, they will eat in other words, is it the kind of thing that might draw people to the table to say, oh, that's what kills them, this kind of thing? Or Is it just are they too small to be seen?
No, I think they are a reasonable size, that they're not, microscopic, so you don't
Right.
need a microscope to see them. I'm not sure what the rules are as far as how long you can keep them contained before you do have to release them. So that may be something we would have to consider if we did want to kind of display them for our participants. But it is a good point to make that, we could, if it's allowed, per the regulations, that we might set up, a terrarium for them with a few air potato, depending on which species it is, if it's the ones that eat the leaves and the vines versus the ones that eat the potatoes, because I think there is another variety that they have been working with that actually does tackle the bulbils, which is kind of exciting. So that may be a prospect that we can look into, but we would definitely have to check during that process of, especially that if we're looking 3 months in advance because of how long it takes to acquire them, then that would have to all happen, I think, 4 or 5 months in advance, asking all those questions, making sure we know what we're allowed to do with them before we make that request.
I just remembered how attractive live bugs were to everybody. Everybody stopped and looked, and then they'd be fluttering around, et cetera. And I just think that, it's one thing to hand a brochure to somebody. It's another thing for a small child to actually see what's alive right in front of them. So, okay.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great comments from everybody. Is there any other comments? Anything else we need to know about the Great Air Potato Roundup?
One thing, I guess I didn't say it too, but thank you guys for all coming out and helping out and stuff. That was very nice and stuff like that. So.
Is that all?
Yes.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Yes, very much. Thank everybody for coming out. It's whatever you got to do to help out. There's so many different things that you can do. Pick one, come out a day, and see how it works for you. Okay, not seeing any more comments on the Great Air Potato Roundup from the Weed Wranglers. We will move on to the inaugural public environmental poll results. Dun, dun, dun.
All righty, so we are going to flip over to a PowerPoint presentation to kind of go over all of the poll results. Hopefully this helps break everything down. It'll be nice and concise. And what we'll look forward to doing is going over each result question by question. Some of them are compiled onto one slide just for ease of viewing. The poll results themselves were, I was assisted in the tabulation of the results by our GIS intern, one of the 2 new interns, and we're grateful for her assistance with that. And we'll go over some of the insights from Matt that he and I have discussed about the poll, how we want to move forward, and how, any changes we'd like to make for the next iteration of the poll. And then we can just go forward with a general discussion of any thoughts that you guys might have on what we're seeing here now. And of course, if you want to see a more full spreadsheet version of the breakdown of the results, if you just want to see them in their raw form, I can always share them with you after, so let me know after we're done talking about it tonight. All right, so just to give you a brief overview of what we're really looking at, the total participants were 405 people, which is approximately 1% of the population, because we have just over 27,500 individuals living in the city of Sebastian. Now, it's important to note that some of the participants were actually marked themselves as not being residents of the city of Sebastian. So that was one of the questions that we covered, is whether they were a full-time resident, part-time resident, or lived outside the city, the jurisdictional limits of the city. So we'll cover that in question 11, but it's just important to keep that in mind because it does kind of mess with that number a little bit. But having over 400 results is fantastic for the first time around. Now, you will see some coloring in some of the tables that are presented tonight. The darkest of the green shades is going to be the highest number of responses. The second in lighter color green, second highest, and then the palest is going to be the third highest number of responses. Now, some of these questions will have many more response opportunities, but this is just the easiest way to rank those 3 highest that came up. And there are some other graphics sprinkled throughout here, and those will also have their own keys for ease of viewing. All right. So this question is selecting 2 of the environmental issues that you feel were needed the most immediate attention in the city of Sebastian. You can see that the top 3 concerns were the health of the Indian River Lagoon, water quality, and invasive species. Ranking the rest of them, we've got loss of biodiversity following that, native landscaping, plastic pollution, environmental policy, and then other. And what was really interesting about the other category is in a lot of these questions that had the other category, these were all written responses, so it varied very greatly. We did have the highest, sorry, let me back up. The highest number of repetitive themed responses had to do with land development and growth management. Now, these categories, as I have listed in this other section, were kind of titled by staff because those were worded all sorts of different ways by the participants. So this is the best way to summarize kind of the main topic point related to these. And then there were actually a couple of at least one of the other category written responses that had a direct tie into water quality, so they may have just used that other space to kind of explain why they selected that. So it was really interesting to see the dichotomy and also to see what the kinds of things that people are interested in that we didn't specifically call out. All right, our next question was about recycling and how important recycling was. The largest number of responses was 283 of the participants that believed that recycling was very important. It is interesting that we do have one little outlier that said that they were not sure, but it is good. We want people to be honest with us if they aren't sure, if they don't believe it's important. We want to know these pieces of information. And one of the things that Matt and I had discussed was the fact that knowing what these outliers are really could tell us what gaps there are, what pieces of education that we might need to engage in. So kind of start thinking about these things as we're going over the rest of these results. All right. So as a Sebastian resident, how would you rank our overall environment in 2025? For the highest numbers, we had a relatively even spread between average, good, and fair. That's, I would say, a relatively small range considering the overall spread of the results. And yet you can see.
Were there any comments, actual written comments on poor?
On poor, I don't know if we had specific written. Actually, I think we'll cover some of that in the follow-up slide. And we'll start to see how that unfolds, because I believe question 4 and then 4A start to go into some more of the written responses. So 4 was the general overall better or worse, and then 4A is where we find out the specific reason. So you'll start to see more of that there. So I hope, but if we do need to circle back to it, we'll definitely try and answer your question. But 75% of the respondents said that the environment has gotten worse. That is a pretty strong lean towards things are not looking so hot. So let's keep that in mind as we go on. All right, so this is where we had a lot of written responses from the participants. The number one reason why there were issues was overdevelopment. Of course, people are interested in lagoon and water quality, septic to sewer conversion, habitat loss, pollution is a big one. And we keep seeing these themes over and over again in some of the responses that, overdevelopment, septic to sewer are major themes. It seems like across the board, the majority of the respondents in general care a lot about the Indian River Lagoon. That seems to be a touching point for everyone across the board. And so it's interesting that everyone cares about the health of the Indian River Lagoon, and maybe, I'm not sure, we'll keep, as we go through it, maybe you'll form your own opinion. My take on this, as I've started to review these results, is that there might be a disconnect between how other behaviors or other things that are done within the community actually impact the Indian River Lagoon. So everyone cares about the health of the lagoon, but maybe there is a misunderstanding of what's leading to poor health conditions for the Indian River Lagoon. So, do you believe the importance of preserving Sebastian's natural habitats for wildlife? This was a really interesting one. The fact that we do have the majority of the respondents said yes, but we do have a small percentage that said no. And so, like I said before, this is one of those areas where we might start to consider, why do we have outliers like this? What does that mean?
Those were the builders.
It's possible.
Okay. Yeah, those were the builders.
Yeah, they're like, it's fine.
And
You don't need
rabbits.
that habitat.
And rabbits.
Rabbits. Yeah. So it is kind of interesting to see how these things have unfolded, and I would be curious to see as we go forward with another iteration of this next year, if that number shifts or changes, and especially if, depending on what our efforts are throughout the next 365 days.
It could also be an accidental click too. There's always that
true.
possibility of someone just filling it out really quickly.
Right. If they're not really paying attention to their Christmas tree or something like that, that's also a really good point, because human error is something that we have to factor in. All right. In your opinion, what are the key traits of a sustainable lifestyle? Now, this is another one of those interesting questions, similar to some of the first questions, where people could select more than one option. So these numbers are not representative of the total number of participants, but they are more representative of the total number of times that that option was selected. So having 197 individuals selecting reducing your impact on our local ecosystem, so that's good that we're seeing a good number. That is less than half, but it is still important to see followed closely by reducing our resource consumption and enabling future generations to support themselves. Now, we did have a good number of other responses, so we will get into some of those now. So how does a sustainable lifestyle help Sebastian's environment? Reducing waste, pollution, plastic, the common themes included reducing waste and pollution, protecting the lagoon and the waterways, limiting overdevelopment and preserving open space, maintaining habitat and biodiversity, long-term resilience, and education is another big one that has come up. There were a lot of individuals that, interestingly enough, I thought it was really interesting that we did get some skepticism. We did get some negative attitudes towards some of, whether it's environmental policy or some of the terminology. There were a few people that, mentioned this and were more explicit about it in their verbal or their written responses. So that's something to consider, that maybe there is education on what's happening on a local government level that maybe we should be providing to the public that we are not sharing, or that the transparency isn't there, or perhaps the dissemination of that information is not there and people just don't understand what it's like on a local government scale. One thing that I thought as I was going through is, because in my department, as you all know, is community development. And so under that umbrella of community development, there's a lot of points of contention when it comes to state level regulation versus local government regulation, and sometimes the state preempts the local government from being able to do certain things, to implement certain laws and regulations. And so when in some of these responses, some of it is tied into specifically the city management, but then we also have to take it into consideration, is it because of what the city is able to do, or is it because that we ourselves are lacking in poor management and we need to improve our management skills? So we have to take those responses and kind of look at them with a fine-tooth comb to understand really what is happening there, what the public might be seeing, and then see if there's a way that we can translate what is happening on our scale and provide people with information to better understand what's happening within the community. So which eco-friendly practices do our the members of our public engage in? So the number one practice appeared to be recycling. And it was interesting that 176 of the participants selected all of the above. So that's 43% of the participants. So that's kind of cool that we do have people who are, making headway in trying to utilize these practices in their daily lives. And then, of course, what steps can we take to improve the Indian River Lagoon? And the highest number of responses was completing all septic to sewer conversions, native landscaping. And then I was really pleased to see that low impact development scored as highly as it did. This is something that I think a lot of people may have an interest in, and we just have not heard as much from the public on that. So perhaps in future polls, we may start to expand on that, but that's also something that we can discuss of how much information on these sorts of topics we want to gather from our residents. And then this is some basic demographic information. So the majority of our respondents were, 40% of them were over the age of 65. We did have some youngsters, the 18 to 24 year age bracket. So it's cool to see that there are people of all ages that did take the poll and are interested in the work that we're doing here. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we did have 24 participants, or 6% of the participants, that live outside of the city limits, so that does kind of mess with the number a little bit, but the majority of our respondents are year-round participants. Or, sorry, year-round residents. Alrighty, so for all of our residents, whether they're part-time or year-round, we wanted to know if their property was on septic or sewer to their knowledge. A large majority of them are on septic system, and that just tracks with the way that Sebastian Highlands is set up. So the majority of the properties within the city of Sebastian are on septic. Some are in the process of converting from septic to sewer, or that they are converting to the, especially with newer properties, are converting to the ATU units instead of the standard model for the septic systems. And then if the property is on septic, would they be interested in converting if the connection is available? So we did get a high number of responses, not quite as many people as were on septic, but it was interesting to see that some people either weren't sure and or that there was a comment that I had seen. Actually, I think it was somebody who had commented on the City of Sebastian Facebook page that said that really there should have been a not applicable answer for this, because for the folks that for whom they aren't on septic, they're all on, those folks that are on sewer, they still had to kind of bypass this question one way or another. So this is kind of skewing the answer probably for those who are not sure, or who would have answered no because they didn't have another option of saying that this isn't applicable to me, but it was still a required question in the survey. So that's important just for us to keep in mind for logistics for the future. And for just as a point of interest, I figured I would be sure to include this. So it was almost 50-50 of the participants who were interested in joining us for future Natural Resources Board activities. So we will make sure to keep those folks on one mailing list for anything that comes up. So I know you all have probably seen my emails that every once in a while we'll have a slew of events or big things in the community or just in the world at large that might be interesting for our participants, anybody who's interested in ecology and conservation and the environment. So, and you got a bunch of blasts in February, and so these folks will go on a list similar to that, or on that same list, and then they will be notified of anything that comes up in the future. And then for folks who wanted to receive the results of the poll, 290 folks are actually interested, which in looking at the actual spreadsheet that was completed from the survey form, unfortunately, what it looks like is some folks would have checked yes or no, and then the insertion of the actual emailing data didn't necessarily match some of those. So some people would have checked yes and not provided their email address. So hopefully if we do share this information on other outlets, especially with the news outlets that would have supported us in the distribution of the poll, then hopefully they'll be able to find it that way. But we won't be able to contact those individuals personally because we didn't have their email address. And then oddly enough, there were some people who said no and still provided contact information. So those two lists I have to make sure to weed through carefully and make sure that people aren't getting contacted for the thing they didn't want to get contacted for. So, all right. So we'll move on to Matt's 4 points. I believe you had 4 points, and then we can go ahead and just open it up for general discussion for.
Yeah, I don't want to take a lot of time. I can discuss much of this with Felicia later on, but there's a couple things. First of all, I'm very pleased for our first poll. We got a lot of information. 405 individuals is good for the first trip around. We captured a lot of names for as volunteers and people who would be interested in our activities. I do want to thank the citizens and who took the time and energy to fill out the poll. That's effort that they didn't have to make and that they chose to make. I'm appreciative of my fellow board members. You folks helped me with the questions and that kind of thing. And then, of course, Felicia doing the compiling it, et cetera. We did say that we're going to be giving the results. So shortly, we'll be sending out the results. If we take the time to ask people to participate and we say we'll give you the results to the extent possible, we want to make sure they get the results. I did come across one thing that I think we'll probably want to change next year. All of the publicity for the poll in the 4 weeks that it ran somewhat in the first week. So we got a mass of people who applied the first week, and then it dropped off. And so maybe the pacing of it should be a little bit more paced out, so that there's some publicity on all 4 weeks. I'm really pleased. I'm happy that the poll came out well. I did want to remind everybody that one of the purposes for the goal for the poll is so that when you're working on your goals, you'll be able to say, next time around, I think I want to ask a question about this, or I want a differentiation, or I'd really like to, touch with the poll respondents to see, what the answer is on my particular goals, et cetera. So that's all I had to say. And if there are individuals who have questions.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll start down here and we'll go one by one because I'm sure we all do, but let's go ahead and get through it.
Yeah, I think the results are pretty much what I would expect from what I saw there. The one thing that disturbs me a little bit is that it was overwhelming, not just on one, but on two different questions. The overwhelming discussion or votes, top votes for overdevelopment being a problem. And I think that, personally, I think that part of the poll should really be sent to City Council to see, because I think they need to be aware that a large majority of the people responding to polls are speaking of overdevelopment, and that's not only going to affect the city, but it affects us as well. So, but other than that, I think the questions were really good. So I think we could go deeper next year, but I think it's a really good start. Also, where did we advertise that poll online?
So primarily the city's Facebook page was one of the avenues that it was promoted on. And we also did partner with a few news outlets such as Sebastian Daily who were able to help promote it as well.
Next year, I think a really important place you'll get a lot more responses is from Nextdoor. Nextdoor not only has the basic people within the area, but also there are a lot of different subgroups in there that you can also advertise. There's a lot of gardening. There's a lot of sufficiency and other things building where that would have reached a lot of people who probably would have grabbed the pole and taken it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Frank. Ms. Thompson?
Yeah, I agree with what Frank said. Obviously, development was an idea and an element that we didn't really target in the poll, but obviously came to surface. So that's something that would require more discussion. And yeah, so that's one thing. And then I just had a thought about the recycling, because that seemed to be one of the top answers. I forget which question it was, but that was how people participated the most. And I'm interested to learn more about our recycling process for the city of Sebastian, where it goes, what happens to it afterwards. And I'm sure a lot of the residents would like that as well. So that could lead to more discussion, you know, for another event or like public outreach material. And then just one thought on the geographic space, and whoever answered, are you a full-time resident, seasonal, or live outside? I don't know if in the poll we're able to provide like a city limit boundary, but maybe they just weren't exactly sure if they were within the city limits, but just like a simple map of, because some people may be living in Roseland and not be sure if they're actually in Sebastian or not, if that counts.
One thought I do have on that, and I don't know if it's practically possible, it may be something that we can tinker with for next time. We could certainly insert a map that shows the jurisdictional boundary. Mm-hmm. If we were able to get this technologically advanced, and I don't know, I wouldn't be me, I would have to ask for assistance probably from our MIS department or maybe even from GIS to see if this is a possibility, but to have a interactive version of the map, kind of similar to the county property appraisers map, that if you could say link the county property appraisers map and say, you know, if you're unsure, type in your address, if we just inserted that kind of in there for the participants to click on if they need a reference point, you know, let's say it opens up a new tab, they can easily insert their address into it and then find whether or not their property is within the city of Sebastian. So it may be something that we can explore for next time around.
Yeah, some people might not know. And then what else did Frank say? Yeah, I just was wondering as well, where did we post this to receive feedback? So I think maybe next time we could, to get more entries, just explore options of how we can get this out there besides Facebook. So yeah, those were all my thoughts going through. A little scatterbrained, but.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Is that all?
Yes.
Mr. Carano?
Well, the problem with this poll and any other poll is that there's no pain involved, okay? Everybody says they're environmentalists when there's no pain involved. When you ask the taxpayers, are you willing to pay in your taxes for a $10 million bond to preserve property, then your answers are going to change. You're going to find out how many of those people are not really environmentalists. When you tell people, are you willing to connect to sewers if they become available at a cost of $20,000, all of a sudden that idea is not so good. And that's why I have a problem with these polls. They really, everybody's sitting at home at their computer, yes, I'm an environmentalist, I do this, I do that. But let's face it, environmental protection is not cheap. Okay? If you are caring about development, the city council can't say no. There's zoning in place, there's a state in place that is very pro-development. There's not much the city can do except purchase property. That they can do all the time. They can't do that in a vacuum. There's not enough tax money available. The only way for that to happen is for people to rise up and say, yes, we're willing to pay. And I guarantee you in this city, people are not willing to pay. I've heard it time and time again when I go to meetings, and you get a specific crowd in here, and city council wants to spend money, and they don't want to spend money. Okay, they don't want their tax dollars going up 1 cent. So the poll is nice, but it really is not indicative of what the people are really saying. There's no pain. They're going to say they're going to be environmentalists. They're going to say they want to protect the lagoon. They'll connect the sewers. But when the time comes where you have to put up dollars, that's where you're going to find out that these numbers are not going to mean anything.
Oh, great comments from everybody. Mr. Crona, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Ms. Ware?
Well, I kind of disagree a little bit with what Tom said. I do agree that there is no pain in filling out a poll, but the fact that people are actually taking the time to do it, I think that means they're concerned in some way. And yes, there will be a cost, but the fact that we are educating people at the same time is part of our mission. And to recognize the things that those people are interested in, I think we accomplished that goal. Even though it was only a certain percentage, it still gives us a way forward to improve our communication. And to address Laura's issue about recycling, that's part of my goals. And I've been trying to meet with the people from Waste Management and the Southern Waste District, and they don't seem to have the time right now. They seem to be very busy with their own projects, but I really feel that the workshop idea has to be worked on as soon as we can get our act together with those people in those organizations that are providing the recycling. And my one major goal that I haven't been able to connect the dots to is the small businesses and helping them be able to recycle in some way, even if it's just cardboard. I mean, in some way that we can help them provide that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. Very important what you had to say. Thank you, Ms. Ware. Very important what you had to say. Yeah, that's it. And Mr. Brogan?
Well, I have a lot of interest in all you guys, what you said, because the first, with overdevelopment, that actually struck me right off the bat. The two things, actually, overdevelopment and then the recycling. I didn't realize the numbers were so high for recycling. But then to you, Donna, that when you do get going, I don't know if it would be neat to work with Waste Management to bring a field day out to a Waste Management for them recycling and stuff. I haven't been to the one here. I've been to the one in Brevard. I've been to the one in Indianapolis, and it is amazing when you see that, when you see that process. I guess for, in education and stuff, it is a big topic right now, septic to sewer conversion. I know that the council was talking about it, I think 2 months ago in January and stuff. So it is a big topic, and coming down from DEP and stuff like that. So there is education. Well, there's not a lot, I think, right now coming out, but there will be a lot of stuff coming out because it is a hot topic.
It is a 2030 limit, or limit, right?
And
I think that might be the current limit, and I know that that is a point of contention for a lot of municipalities, that a lot of places are saying that there's no way that they will be able to. And I think at the county level, at the city level, I think at many other, institutions, that is becoming a problem. And I don't know what's happening between the states and then the local government level, that, if some of that might be shifting. But if any of that does occur, I will keep you all posted.
Yeah, because it's changing and stuff like that. That's the current, I think it's 2030, but who knows? I did like the poll. I took it. So it was interesting and stuff. So I appreciate it, the poll.
So maybe one of the questions we add, and back to my point of view, is that we add a follow-up, would you be willing to pay, how much money would you be willing to pay each year in assessment on your taxes for open space? That's the way to control development. It's only purchasing open space.
And you're right. It is a lot of money because the septic sewer conversion. I would. I've been on septic all my life, or I had one house that didn't have septic, but it is a hot topic, but also there is a big expense, and the city council has a big expense in order to put in a new treatment plant or a new water plant. Everybody is scrambling at that, trying to do that, and you know, I am happy in Brevard County, they do have help. If you do your conversions, they do have some help to offset the cost, which is good, and hopefully Indian River County will do the same thing.
If I can,
Hold on one
just on
second.
on the
One
recycling.
second. Hold on one second. Mr. Brogan, is there any other comments that you have?
No.
Okay, because I just want to keep it concise.
Sure.
Okay, if you have a quick
Yeah, just back to the recycling, you know, people say they want to recycle, but they don't know, they think recycle just means taking their stuff to the dump. And we really should be trying to teach people how to recycle their own things. For example, cardboard was just mentioned a minute ago. Cardboard has tremendous uses outside of dumping it back to the dump. I mean, anybody that's done any gardening or anything else knows that cardboard laying, as long as it's not, you know, chemical paint on it, but all the Amazon boxes, for example, are great for laying out instead of weed fabric, which Ben has to get rid of. You lay cardboard. If we teach people that, if we start teaching some people and saying, hey, here's some things you can do with your glass bottles and with your, you know, other things, they're not getting that. They just say they want to recycle, but a lot of them say, but I don't know how. So I think that's something that we should be keeping in mind.
Great questions for everybody. Ms. Baumgartner, do you have anything? Just asking, because you're part of the board. You're welcome to speak. That's okay. If you don't have anything, you don't have to. Just asking.
My concerns are a little different.
Oh, could you come up to the mic and just say your name and who you are?
My name's Deborah Schellenberger. My concerns are a little different. I don't know if you know about House Bill 180, which is taking away the sovereignty of the town and giving it to the state. They're the ones that are going to make the decisions about how things are built. We're not. And the other thing is that they're talking about taking away property taxes. If the city doesn't have money, how's it going to do all these things? I'm just saying, these are things people need to think about. The state wants to take control of each town and city, especially after hurricanes. They were deciding about, part of it was that there were people that were in need of getting things fixed, and permission to do it was being held up. So that's one good thing about it. But then the other thing is that they can decide what can be saved and what can be, you know, plowed under if they want to. So I'm just saying that's just something that we need to keep into consideration.
They consider it works right into our overdevelopment, which is the number one concern.
You know,
so it all weeds back together.
My thing is, I don't want the guy that's going to be making money from me making the decisions on how you're going to fix my house or my land. It just doesn't seem right. I think that should be in the hands of the people that live here, not a contractor.
Fantastic. Thank you for your comments. I'm going to comment, then I'll bring it back to the board. Do we have a time when we're going to go in front of the city council with this? Because we usually do a state of the city. Sebastian, remember we were having those meetings once a year, and I think it's part of our.
Do you mean the annual report
Yes.
from the NRB? Is that what you're referring
Yes.
to? We will. I think ours is actually slated for sometime in April is when it tends to be. At least it has the past couple years. The state of the NRB, if you will, has been in NRB. So, oh my goodness, tongue-tied, has been in April. So that will be coming up relatively soon, but I'm not sure if they will schedule it the same way as they have in past years. So I will keep you posted. But if this is something that you believe we should report on as part of our findings or part of the update on what's going on with the Natural Resources Board, then we can certainly, I can make sure to run this by my director and anyone else higher up that we need to make sure.
And I know that they watch because it says, hey, I'm watching. So I'm like, hi to everybody who's watching. And but if we can go ahead and send this to them after we've all looked tonight, I think after tonight you could send it to them preliminary, still maybe cleaned up. But if you can get this to them tomorrow, because there's already some of the things that I'd like to change in my sustainable Sebastian. If one of the things I feel that if your constituency wants this done, it almost doesn't care if you're serving them, that this is what gets done. So if it depends on where you are and what side you're on, there's always something like that. But some of the things that I'm doing may not even relate back to that poll. So, you know, and it looks like our focus should be making sure that the lagoon is protected, improves every year. Now, we've been real fortunate with that because we live near the inlet and we have been protecting it the best we can. So some of our marine grass has come back and the lagoon itself looks good and we live in a nice area. So we've been fortunate, but north and south of us, especially north of us, it's in rough shape. It looks like 75% of the poll said the environment got worse. So I was really surprised to see that. I personally don't see it. I see more problems out there, but I don't see overall it getting worse. I see some of the problems are very large and looming, but Sebastian's really beautiful, and I've lived here a long time. And other than a lot of the development is a little out of hand, I don't see it getting worse as far as what everybody's doing out there, doing something worse. I just think it's more people and the little things that they do. It makes it look, you know, sometimes there's garbage where there shouldn't be. Go ahead.
Brevard County is dumping waste into the lagoon. That's number one. And Blue Origin is dumping 500,000 gallons a day into the lagoon. It's desalinated water, which is changing the pH of the lagoon, which is changing how things grow. And if how things grow, what's available to eat changes what animals live there. So it's bigger than just what people are doing.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff out there
I
that's
got you,
beyond Sebastian that's going to affect Sebastian.
I got you, Ms. Schellenberger, but there's not a lot we can personally do outside of our wheelhouse. So
True.
we try to focus on that. And I did mention what's going on up north,
Yeah.
without really looking at it, because it's crazy what's going on. But you are absolutely
I
correct,
mean,
and I
we
appreciate
can't,
that.
the thing is, yes, we can only do what we can do in the city, but the thing is, what they're doing up there is affecting us. And I think
Absolutely.
we have a right to say something about it to them.
And we will. Thank you. And you're right about the low impact development, because you see me when I go to these meetings, some of the stuff that I'd like to talk to them about, they've already talked about, you know, and a lot of it comes into the green spaces, is it connectivity, and I come in here to complain, but it's already done. So and I got nothing to say. So we try to affect what we can affect. I'd like to change, I'm gonna call you and change some of what I'm doing on Sustainable Sebastian to reflect what the poll is doing, and I think it's really important that it gets up the ladder tomorrow if we can. And that's all I have to say. Mr. Kraus, I wanted to say thank you. This was your project to start with, right?
Well, I think there were many people participating, including citizens, you folks, Felicia, et cetera. So I think it's everybody's.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate all the work.
I just have one thing, Tom.
One thing, Mr. Kraus.
That's it, and I'm done for tonight. Tom mentioned, and I think that's a valid point, you know, in an ideal world, people say, well, you know, I'm gonna brush my teeth in the morning, I'm gonna brush my teeth in the afternoon. I mean, you know, and then reality hits and you go, go out the window, that goes. And so I think we can put some language in the poll that says, in a general sense, that environmental work is not cheap, or there's no gain if you're not willing to have pain. So I think we can incorporate a little bit of that in there and just remind people before you fill a poll out, oh yeah, it costs some money here. I mean, so it might help to get the results more reality based. Okay, so that's
Fantastic.
it. I'm
All
done.
right.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments?
I will say that if anybody has any gears turning, you know, because of this discussion tonight, or if anything from the poll has, you know, even after tonight, if you're thinking about the poll and the results that we've discussed, or if you rewatch the video and you look at those slides again, if something comes up that you're thinking of, pitch it to me. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let's discuss it. Like Charles, you have some ideas about what you're interested in, maybe modifying some of your Sustainable Sebastian tasks. Now, I will say, when it comes to Sustainable Sebastian, the tasks themselves that are outlined in the plan, as those have been approved by City Council, the specifics are more concrete. But the nuances are the ways that we can play around with those tasks and the subtasks. Those, because they're not concrete, they're modifiable, we can adjust, we can pivot. And so there should be a lot of, relatively a decent amount of wiggle room, but it depends on what you're interested in. So if that is something that comes up for, like for you, Charles, or for any of the rest of you, please, let me know. Let's talk about your ideas. Let's go over it. Let's see how we might shift, and we can pass that up the chain of command as we need to.
Fantastic. Okay, is there any other comment on that?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there or was there a reason maybe not to do the poll during Earth Day, during the Earth Day event? And I say that because so 486 people or some, whatever I think if you have the Earth Day event, you're going to get more people that live in the city of Sebastian, because I think all the snowbirds will be going away. I just think, some more data.
I don't know if the survey was ready last year by Earth Day.
Well, for this Earth Day event, for coming up here and stuff,
You think people are going to want to stop and fill out a 10-minute survey while they're walking around?
I don't know,
For
but
a free snow cone?
A clipboard for each and every one of them. I'm just looking at the
but I would
practicality.
honor it, to
We
the
could
fact
try.
that.
It could be put out there.
I didn't know if
it could
it
be
would.
digital too.
I don't know how
something to
many
talk
attend
about.
the Earth Day event. I was there for a couple hours, but I don't know how many attend the whole event.
Can I just make a suggestion? I think that we could probably make a QR code, or we could say, do you want to do a poll? We can send it to you if you give us our email, instead of having them fill it out while they're there, especially because they want to get everything in that there is to do that day. But that would certainly be something that we could collect more data on.
True.
All right, well, how about bring those ideas to Felicia, and she'll help us facilitate
Well, the
that.
question is, can we reopen the poll? I guess that's what we're asking, right? Can we reopen the poll?
Right, that does sound like it's the primary question. And I think the way we designed the poll was that it would be conducted at the end of every year or at the beginning of the next year about the previous year. So the timing of it being at Earth Day doesn't quite track. So if there was a set of questions that the board is interested in asking at, at intermediate points in the year, then maybe we could do something like that. I don't know if it would be our annual poll, per se, if we want to keep the annual poll relatively consistent, at the same time of year. So that's something to think about. But we do have one meeting after this, and then it's Earth Day. So if this is something that the board does want to pursue, if we want to have some type of poll available for folks at the NRB booth, even if it's just by QR code and they go to our website, or the QR code takes them directly to, or the link that they follow takes you directly to that poll, we'd have to decide on that within the next month.
I think we can do this for next year. I think it's a great idea. And have the polling period March, April, May, instead of, what do we do, December, January, February?
I think it was actually open from beginning of January through the very beginning of February.
Okay.
So it was just a month.
Yeah, maybe we want to expand it to include the Earth Day festivities. And like we said, we can give somebody a card with a QR code and they can go and fill it. As a reminder
Right.
that we would like that information.
I think that even for this coming one, we could still ask them if they want to participate in a future poll and get their email. I
think you can always ask them their opinion on anything, any given day, and document it and save it for the next day. You don't have to put it in a poll, but you still always want their opinion. Hey, what you thinking there? Let me know. Oh, I didn't want to know that, but, Okay, is there any other comments? All righty, not seeing any. Let's move along. Thank you for that very great poll. I think it's going to really, really get us focused. And we'll move on to, looks like item B, Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration preparations. Yay!
Yes.
Earth Day is our big thing, guys. This is our day to shine for Natural Resources Board. It's on, looks like it's going to be April 18th, 2026. So we got the day booked. It's been a pretty good event for us so far. We're going to find out board member participation and whatever preparation work we need to do.
Right.
So if you want to take us from there,
Yeah,
Felicia?
so let's start off with the general schedule again for the board, just to get an idea of who is going to be around and who is not. Hopefully, since the last month, you've kind of determined whether or not you may be available for that day. Ideally, like I said last time, we would like to have all hands on deck. We understand that it's not always practical or possible. So any information that you can provide at this juncture so I know who's going to be at the event is greatly appreciated, and I'll go ahead and take a tally of everyone who will be there.
You want to start down there, Mr. President?
I will be attending the event. And
If you don't know right now, that's okay too.
yeah, I will be attending the event probably like half a day,
Morning
So-
or AM?
morning.
I'll be there all day.
There, I'll be there in the morning. Thank you.
I'm going to try to be there all day.
I'm planning on being there all day, but the day before is my dad's 90th birthday, and I don't know what we're doing for him that weekend.
Yay! Congratulations, Carano's dad. Ms. Thompson?
TBD for me. I'll get with you, Felicia. I may have something else going on, so I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
If the freeze hadn't happened, I might have bought a booth, but since the freeze happened and I lost most of the things I would do, I'll do all day. And we can discuss if you want, as we discussed earlier, if you want to come up with some kind of project that we can do for the public with that.
Yes.
I'd be happy to do that.
That would be great.
All day.
While we got Mr. Trinkle here, I would just like to know if he'd like to be the MC this year.
Yes, I'd be glad to.
Good. All right, good. And
I do just want to note really quickly, I think other city stuff that's going on, the Chase Your Tail 5K is also going on that morning. So as far as morning things go, I don't know.
yeah, send them
There's just some
down.
other- there's
Just
other-
tell them to come on
I know,
down.
just run that
right,
way.
There you go.
Exactly, just run to the
Tell them I'll
park.
bring them up on stage and they can talk whatever they want to do. Okay, and Ms. Okay, and then let's move on to the prospective work sessions. Do we need to talk about that, or do you just want to send us emails, or how do you want to do that?
So ideally, if possible, let's talk about potential dates that may work for the board now. I will look to see what dates are going to be available throughout the rest of March, and then also dates in April for us to get together to prep outreach materials, brochures, the seed packets if we need to, create more seed packets. And because that has been such a big hit the past several events, we're likely going to need to prepare more of those seed packets, probably exhaust all of the seeds and the envelopes that we have this time around. So are there any prospective dates that throughout this month that are off limits the board members of the board absolutely cannot attend? Typically, I think there are weeknights on Tuesdays and Thursdays that I believe the Art Center is available at like 4 p.m. And I know that sometimes maybe there might be afternoon meetings for some of you that work. So if that does conflict, of course, let me know and we can make something work. And this doesn't have to be all hands on deck, but as many of you as possible that we can get together to prepare.
Okay, the third week of March, I'll be out of the country.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Trinkle.
I can probably be available any of those days. Just let me know when you need me.
Ms. Thompson?
I will be out March 16th through the 19th on a work trip. But other weeks I will be around.
I'm going to be a bachelor for 2 weeks in March, so I need some friends.
Mr. Crono already commented. You know how every day with what I do, it's, I don't know how my schedule is, so just tell me what days it ends up being and I'll get the dispatch. And when I say dispatcher, I mean my wife on it. She tells me what to do and I do it. So pretty much it. Mr. Cross?
I'm having oral surgery on April 6th.
Oh, that's after we're talking before that, right? Are we talking April too?
We
Well,
talking
I'm
about-
looking into April as well, just in case we do need to have a prep
Okay.
session, further into April. But at that point, we'll only have a week and a half before the actual
Yeah,
event within
that's
April.
close.
Okay, so just so you know, that's a somewhat of a painful process. So I'm probably not going to be around for a few days there or not willing to work. As far as March is concerned, it's pretty open.
Miss Ware?
I will be away the second week of March, but the rest of the month is fine, and April looks fine too. You were just talking Tuesdays or Thursday afternoons, right? I'm fine with those.
Mr. Bergen?
I am fine with the Tuesdays and Thursdays, except for April, the week of April 13th, I will be in Jacksonville for the week. But other than that, I think March is fine. I'm actually available on Wednesdays as well.
Okay. All right, well, fantastic. Do you need anything else, Felicia?
Yes. So one of the items on the board's responsibilities list is the scavenger hunt development. Now, in going over some of the event details with staff, one of the things that we recently discussed was the possibility of having one particular board member focus on developing the scavenger hunt. And then that way at the next board meeting, we can kind of go over it, iron out any final details, and then that'll be the scavenger hunt that we produce for the event. The other thought was, because of the level of traction that we get for the scavenger hunt each year, there was the question of, does the board want to continue to pursue the scavenger hunt in general? We only had a small handful of participants last year. Could be partially due to advertising for the activity itself. There may be some other factors there that are worth considering, but did want to pose that to the board so we can put that up for discussion and see how we want to move forward. If the board does choose to move forward with the development of a scavenger hunt, then I would ask for a champion, so to speak, for that item. And I can send you information from the previous scavenger hunt so you can see what we've done in the past, and we can modify from there.
Okay, so I guess first we'll start with, do we want to do a scavenger hunt this year? And we can just have a voice vote. All ayes for approval?
I have a question.
Oh, wait, let's get the vote because we may not need it
Okay.
if we're not going to do it.
Okay.
I vote no.
Okay, hold on one second. Any ayes for approval? Any nays?
Nay.
Yeah.
Nay.
Nay.
All right, it's unanimously nay for the scavenger hunt. So
I just want to add that I think that we would be much better with some interactive opportunities at our booth. That seems to bring more people, and we are directly one-on-one with them rather than handing out. I think last year it was only like the kids that were volunteers that did it, and it was because they knew they were getting prizes. So I think that, like what Frank was saying, he might bring something, and you might bring something. I think that that's going to bring them in better. So
and we still got the silent auction, the giveaways,
raffle.
the raffles. There's a lot going on there. Okay, so no scavenger hunt this year. And is there any other comments that we need on that, Felicia, for preparation for work sessions?
Not at this time.
Are we going to have to set up the numbers for the booths, or is the city going to do that again?
As far as I understand, I think the the last year's staff handled that because Parks Department was very specific on managing some of the booth spacing. And the hope is to keep it consistent again this year. So I think staff may be handling that. If that does change, I will be sure to let you know. One of the things that had come up between this past Earth Day and up until this point is that staff had gone out there and labeled everything, and then some of it was changed by other individuals.
Hey.
Or some of it has worn away, weather conditions and things like that may have worn away some of the markings. So staff is going to go out there, make sure that it is all fixed and ready to go. So NRB should not have to worry about it, but if that does come to a point where we need the NRB's assistance with that, we will let you know.
Is that Mr. Blankenship?
That's his department.
Yeah, don't mess with Mr. Blankenship's numbers. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, and thank him for getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that, unless they go out there and do it the day before.
Can I add something else? As far as the Earth Day posters contest, I have been in touch with the school. They are going to participate, and I have asked the Fine Art and Music Group, and they will be providing the prizes again. So that's taken care of. So.
Great. And do we have the grand prizes lined up again this year? Are we going to go out? Because remember, we went out there for a few years and we got them as board members.
So some of those grand prizes were for the scavenger hunt that we had previously acquired. So if there's no scavenger hunt, there may not necessarily be a need for those particular prizes this year. Now we are, of course, asking the vendors who are willing to participate if they are also willing to provide either an activity or a raffle prize or both. I'll have to check those lists again to see who's providing what, but we do have a good handful of folks who are providing activities and or raffle prizes this time around. So if that is necessary, we may be able to turn to some of those individuals and, either request that it be used for a quote unquote grand prize if that's necessary. But if we do also have the sponsorship of the Fine Arts and Music Festival, then, we can of course put that towards
so like Sebastian Daly, who's done all of our sponsors, and they give away a really nice river cruise. We could still have them sponsor, they could still donate what they want, and we would just give it away in the raffle.
That is a possibility. We can certainly look into that.
Because Sebastian Daly was a really important sponsor, and I got to figure out now a way of integrating them. And Captain Harem's too. They would give us really good stuff. They're the ones that gave us this everything for the river down there when they were also doing their cruising and stuff like that. And then Mel Fisher's Treasure Museum. That was really good.
Yeah. It is also worth noting that, especially with Sebastian Daly, that they always tend to help us out regardless when it comes to the promotion of the event. Every year they always post something about the Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration. So so they are, helping out and supporting and sort of sponsoring the event by promoting it as well. So, but if that's something the board is interested in, then we can certainly look into, asking them about a grand prize, or I guess it wouldn't be a grand prize because there's no ranking system with the raffle, but having them as an addition to the raffle prizes.
Well, fantastic. Is there any other discussion needed for preparation for work sessions? All right, not hearing any. We'll move along to number 9, new business. And it looks like item A in new business is the comprehensive environmental guide proposal by board member Frank Trinkle. And I take it this is our guide?
It is.
Do you want to go through it page by page, or
just very
we want
briefly.
to read it?
Tonight is just an overview to look at what I've kind of developed in my head for this and the reasons why. And then if you all decide that you want to progress and maybe go forward with this, at least more development, then just let me know. If you think it's silly, then we just stop here. But basically, one of the big problems we have, not problems, but basically we've got tons of single-use disposable handouts that we give all over the place. People read them once and then they pretty much end up in the recycle bin. And they're not comprehensive, they're usually single subject. So I've suggested creating a magazine style, same type of thing you find in a lot of places that talk about where you are in the histories or whatever, but do it primarily from a perspective of our particular needs here and it was as the board. So I basically envision a professionally designed saddle-stitched, multi-page magazine-style guide for the city of Sebastian, at least initially. Living with Nature in Sebastian, a guide to wildlife, water, native plants, and responsible stewardship. The guide would consolidate multiple existing handouts into a single visually engaging publication that would be for education, visitors, snowbirds, new residents. It would improve compliance with existing ordinance because it would list them, protect the Indian River Lagoon, all of the things that we're doing to do that and that people should be aware of, promote civic pride and support property values and tourism. So the purpose and need is basically that currently the Natural Resources Board is fragmented, or information is fragmented. As I said, many handouts. Visitors and short-term rentals don't ever receive any guidance. They come here and they have no clue. Realtors lack a consolidated resource for new homeowners. This guide would replace all these single topic handouts, provide a high level of easy to understand education, clearly summarize enforceable ordinances without any kind of complexity, and it would present Sebastian as a city that really keeps stewardship in mind. The distribution strategy in my vision is that phase one would be a voluntary placement in places like City Hall, community centers, libraries, marinas, realtors, and welcome packets. Phase two would be hospitality outreach to hotels, short-term rental costs, verbos, and Airbnbs. Phase three, potential ordinance discussion of the future, would be considering requirement to place the short-term rental properties as a requirement, consider including the guide and new homeowner documentation that is given to new homeowners during closing or by their realtors. So tonight's request is basically just for approval to explore and develop the concept, not immediate ordinance done. The funding options that I perceive are first, the city environmental education budget, potentially the Indian River County cost sharing, future expansion if we decided to do this not only for Sebastian, but basically include Indian River County interests as well. Lagoon-related grants, FWC educational support, and limited, carefully selected ads if necessary. Ad placement would be controlled and minimal to preserve credibility. On the last 2 pages, I have basically a proposed table of contents. And the way that it would be laid out, and that's pretty much what you have in front of you to take a look at. I have already kind of, if we decide to go further on this, I already have a layout of each of these pages, kind of proposed, not with all the pictures and everything else, but I could bring that next month if it was approved, and we could take a look at how that would be laid out, and then discuss further how we could bring this into being. But basically, we would eliminate all of the single sheet handouts. It's going back to our recycle stuff. Most of that stuff goes straight in the trash after being read. So it's something that people would keep. It's a magazine. They don't generally throw those away. And in the verbos, Airbnbs, and others, people would have references so they know what is could and couldn't be done here. Things like fertilizer bans and other things. So that's my presentation.
Fantastic. And let's open this for discussion. And Ms. Thompson?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea overall. I know Felicia and I have talked about homeowner welcome packets for new residents that moved here, so that'd be a perfect opportunity to integrate. 3 questions or comments with this. How often are you planning to update it or reissue it? Is it going to be annually, biannually, monthly? I think would be too often. Who's going to put it together?
I think if we did this the right way, basically it's a generic overview, and then we could do obviously if it's being printed, it can just be adjusted annually or something. If we needed to add something else or make a change to a particular table of contents, I don't see any issue with that.
Okay, and then who is, designing or putting this together? And then lastly, would we want to put annual events in there? Because if, just a general schedule, because we do have these annual events that occur every year. So not only are we telling them, here's all the information, of how you can be a good environmental steward, but how else can you get involved with the community and the Natural Resources Board? So those are my thoughts.
I think that's really good input. I think that may not be able to do the actual dates, but you could say in April we always have,
Right.
and so forth and so on, so people can look forward to that. But I think that it isn't just again, these wouldn't be thrown away, like we do with the other stuff. Basically, people would take them home, or they'd have them. Every Airbnb, I don't know if you've ever stayed in an Airbnb or a Burbo, but there's always a 3-ring notebook with all of the rules and everything else. So you just throw it in those in the Airbnb so people could skip through that and learn about some of the things that they cannot do, which is really important, especially with visitors. So next.
Mr. Crowder, why not just digital? Why have a paper copy at all?
You mean why do this at all?
No, the idea is wonderful, but why not just do it in a digital format and not in a paper format? Because people don't save things to begin with.
Digital format is good, but travelers often aren't doing. They're going to Facebook and they're going to their regular Facebook page, X accounts, and other things. They're not necessarily looking for deep information on natural resources in Sebastian, or learning about our requirements here under ordinance for things like fertilizer bans and what not to do and what to do and things that help and other things. Having a printed document, even though this is today, it is 2026. I mean, we still work with a lot of books and documents and other things. I think it would be most helpful as a magazine. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'm worried about the cost.
Well, the cost, as I said, I've put some options in here that we could explore, and obviously that could be a stumbling block. It could be the end. We get a lot of I don't really see putting a lot of any kind of commercial ads in there, but there could be some organizations that are beneficial to that match our kind of what we do and push for, and they might want to contribute in order to have a piece of Orca or something in there like that, bit somewhere in there.
Anything else, Mr. Corralo?
No, as I said, I think it's a great idea. I just am more concerned about the cost.
No, I agree with you.
And I think there's some of the people that you think are going to use it.
Oh, I agree with that. I think there will be people that won't do it, but at least we know it's there.
Right.
So,
you
can always point
somebody. Doing it digitally, we already have the document. It already exists.
Yeah.
Mr. Kraus?
So I need a little time. I'm not a person who can really absorb things real quickly, so I'm going to have to take a look at it and go through it. There's a couple of things that I would comment. First of all, I like the title. I really do. That strikes me as a very descriptive way of incorporating some of the things that we need to focus on. And I am in agreement with you that, because I do it too, you go someplace, you grab a piece of paper and you look at it, or you stuck it in your pocket, and then the next place it goes is in the recycling bin or in the wastebasket. I also worked for a large magazine printer in Vermont called Lane Press, which makes 4-color magazines, Perfect Stitch and Saddle Stitch. They are having trouble, as all magazine printers are, that they are headed for digital kind of stuff. So I don't know whether the magazine route is the way to go, but all I know is, they produce beautiful magazines on everything, operations, surgical procedures, beautiful color, but they can't sell them anymore. It's expensive and that kind of thing. So I'm open to it, Frank. I need to chew on it a little bit more. Okay, that's the only thing.
As a self-publisher, I'm self-publishing my book, and so I've come across all of these various different printing costs and other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the stitched or whatever, and it doesn't have to be super, high gloss, high things. It's basically a matter of just getting enough color in there that you have pictures of the various different, being able to show invasive species like the iguana and frogs, and then some of the plants that are for recognizing certain things, And so I think that the cost. It would be there, but I think we would keep that minimal.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
I think this is excellent. I applaud your ideas, and I fully support it all the way and like to help you in any way I can. And I would also bring to the table that in the past, when the city was going through its centennial, they did a coloring book through the sheriff's office in Bureau, and it doesn't cost anything but the paper to have stuff printed there. They did, the Art Club has done booklets through them with the plastic spiral edges on them that you just have to buy those parts and they'll put them together for you. So it's a great resource that's right here local. And like I said, the Art Club has used it many, many times for a lot of her documents that we send out.
Sounds great.
Fantastic. Great comments from everybody. Mr. Bergen, you got anything that you want to add?
So I love it too. I guess I would add a couple of things like some of the Parks Department stuff. I would add, a map with the Parks Department and what they offer, and whether it also be bike trails or walking trails, like some type of description.
Sure.
Because I know what the pamphlet you're talking about. I read them when I'm in a hotel or something like that, and so they offer that information. The educational stuff, the Environmental Learning Center, for some sponsorship, or Orca or Next Door. The only thing Mr. Kraus did say about the cost, and I understand that, and I understand what the concept is because I do like it. But going back to what he said a little bit with the cost, like some type of QR code may be placed around at some of the parks where they can read some of this stuff, because my understanding is this is for the Airbnb or the Vrbo or the hotel people, but what about me? Because this is interesting to me.
I agree 100%. I'm not saying this only needs to be in this kind of form.
Okay.
I mean, basically, you can have the actual printed, which people see, but you can also have exactly the same thing at a URL, at a website, that can be read page to page.
Yeah, and even just at the libraries and at the library and stuff, and just have a whole copy. But I didn't know that part of it because I want one with all this information that it's talking about, but I'm not going to stay at a hotel here in Sebastian to go get it. No, it's really good. But I would add some park stuff since it is talking about nature in Sebastian.
Okay. Do we need a voice vote approval?
Basically, what we would need tonight is basically just telling me.
Second. It doesn't ask for an action item, but do we have to have a voice vote approval?
I don't know that a voice note of.
I'm just requesting approval to explore and develop the concept further, and then next month I would come in with a much more detailed format. But I mean, basically, if tonight everybody said this is worthless, then we just stop here. But I don't mean it like that. But
no, I think we understand what you're looking for. All right, if we can get just a simple yay or nay voice vote approval, just to move to the next step. Mm-hmm. Even though it is going to cost us whatever time and energies, do we want to look at what this is going to look like on the next step? So just a simple yay from everybody. You want to raise your hand?
Yay.
Yay. Any nays? I see none, so let's go ahead and move along with it. Okay, let's move on to the next item. Item B is the Pelican Island National Refuge Anniversary Celebration. All right, that's great. We haven't seen that in a while.
Yes.
Huh?
So we have been invited this year to join the celebration. The main portion of the celebration is taking place at the Wildlife Refuge on the Saturday and Sunday that weekend. The main invitation is for participation on that Saturday, which would take place between 10 a.m. and I believe 3 p.m. on the Saturday. The offer has also been extended for the Sunday, but that is not necessary. If the board is interested in participating, we would be joining other nonprofits and organizations and government entities that have a stake in the environmental realm. So we may be joined by wildlife experts, and Teddy Roosevelt, of course, will be there once again, as he is in most cases when this event takes place. And I think maybe our friends at, say, Audubon, or of course the Pelican Island Conservation Society is the host of the event at the Wildlife Refuge. So they will, of course, be there. If the board is interested in participating, then I guess we will take roll call for the approval of the event.
Where is it being held?
It is at the Pelican Island National Wildlife Refuge.
Okay. Everybody knows where that's at? Okay, it's like on the other, over on the Barrier Island, down in the Jungle Trail.
Are we going to be required to wear a Natural Resources Board shirt?
You will not be, in your case, you will not be required. I would ask everyone else kindly to wear their shirts. We'll figure something out for you, Frank. I promise. One of these days, we'll get you something.
Okay, now, so it looks like it's going to be the weekend. It's going to be March 20th, 21st, and the 22nd.
So the board is not obligated to approve all 3 dates. That is just the overarching event time frame. The 20th, I believe they're hosting a shorter event in the evening. The 21st is the main event date that the board would be voting on. If the board is interested in making this a 2-day endeavor, then you may consider the Sunday as well. But that is a lot to ask.
And do we have the city support team helping us?
So this would, by support, it would most likely be me. I would be your support.
I'm talking about Bub. Where's Bubba and all this?
Well, this is not a city-sanctioned event. This is outside of the realms. It's something that the board is just being invited to.
It makes a big difference.
Yes, it does make a difference.
Okay, so no Bub. All right. Okay, well, let's first decide if we want to do this or not. And we're going to do it for 1 day or 2 days. So we got a couple things to decide on. So let's go ahead and work on the main actionable item first. Do we want to participate in the Pelican Island National Refuge Anniversary Celebration? And because it's an actionable item, we take a roll. Is that the way we do it? Okay. Let's go ahead and take the roll.
Yes. Mr. Brugan?
Yes.
Ms. Ware?
Well, I won't be available that weekend, but I think it's a good idea.
So is that a yes?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes, but I don't think I'll be on that weekend either. I think I'll be up in.
Yeah, then please vote no.
All right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to.
Vote no. Don't stick to
Yes,
something else,
I'm volunteering the rest of the board members to go. I think I'm going to be in Georgia Friday night, Saturday, and into Sunday. So I guess I'm going to vote no because I don't want to volunteer everyone.
Okay.
So I will change my vote to no also, since I know I can't participate, okay?
Okay, now wait a minute. Mr. Brugan is yes. Ms. Ware is no. Mr. Kraus is no. So
Correct.
far, we have one yes and 2 no's. So, Mr. Stadelman?
I'll go with yes.
3 yes. Mr. Carano? No. Ms. Thompson?
I will also be out of town, so that's a no for me.
And Mr. Trickle?
Yes.
Yes. So that is,
I need to change my answer then to a maybe. Because I have a commitment, but I need to change.
Abstentions are not permitted.
Well-
Either yes or no.
Well, no, we don't even need that because we have 4 no's,
No,
right?
wait a minute. I don't know who's changed what. So let's do this again.
Can we call the roll?
Yes, call the
Yeah.
roll.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Brugan,
No.
Ms. Ware,
No.
Mr. Kraus,
No.
Mr. Stadelman,
Yes.
Mr. Carano, Ms. Thompson,
No.
Mr. Trinkle.
I joined the chairman, yes.
Okay, well, it's, looks like the noes have it.
It's 5 to 2 nays.
Thank you, Janet. Greatly appreciate that. And so that,
Can you please send a request, not that we didn't want to go, it's the fact that we did not have sufficient members available.
Will do.
okay, we'll move on to item C, because we don't have to have any more discussion on that. This is another actionable item. So we're looking at the Indian River Neighborhood Association's Indian River County Bio Blitz event. Okay, it's on April 19th through the 25th. So again, we're looking at 19, 20. Wait, we're not going to do all those days.
So let me explain. So the Indian River Neighborhood Association is hosting a week-long event, the week-long BioBlitz. Now, there are going to be multiple partners throughout the county that are hosting their own individual BioBlitz events on any given day throughout this week. So there is no specific day that the board has to show up anywhere or do something. It is at the board's prerogative if we would like to host our own BioBlitz at some point throughout that week.
Can you explain what a BioBlitz is?
Absolutely. So the BioBlitz is essentially gathering people together in whatever the chosen location is and going and exploring our local ecosystems and recording, almost as if a citizen science effort, recording all of the species that are found or however many species you'd like to target along that trip. So ideally, iNaturalist would be used, but I'm sure there are plenty of other platforms that we could utilize to be a part of this BioBlitz. Some of my favorites recently are birding related, so the Merlin Bird ID app is something that is, another tool people can use, but featured specifically in this event is iNaturalist, and the idea is to go along, catalog species that you're targeting, and document the ecology of the region that you are looking at. It's a great way to get people out there, get people interested in what species are, make species a little bit more charismatic so people can get hands-on and start to care about these species. Indian River Neighborhood Association is hosting their own BioBlitz event, and then there already are some partners and some of other agencies throughout the county that are hosting theirs, and the IRNA is posting about those other locations on their website. So this would be an opportunity to engage with this kind of multi-agency, multi-organization event. This is any day throughout that week the board could choose to host the event, so it is very flexible. The time frame is flexible. It is the week after Earth Day, so this could be extremely relaxed. This is not anything that is, high maintenance. We don't have to bring out tables and chairs and all that stuff. It could simply be a walk through the conservation area is our choice, and we would invite members of the public to join us.
Would this be an evening event, a midday event, or however we choose?
That's however the board chooses.
So we just need to pick one day between the 19th and the 25th.
Yes. Is there availability from the board members to
right.
do it?
Yeah, well, we can do
there's
it
interest.
that way. All right, let's have a roll call for the Indian River Neighborhood Association BioBlitz event with a yay for approval to participate one day at our choosing between April 19th and the 25th. And let's go ahead and start down the other end with Mr. Trinkle. Well, no, I'm sorry, it's roll call. I apologize.
Mr. Trinkle,
Yay.
Ms. Thompson,
I'm going to vote nay, being so close after the Earth Day event.
Mr. Carano? Nay? Mr. Stadelman?
I'm going to go with nay.
Mr. Kraus?
Nay.
Ms. Ware?
Nay.
Mr. Brugan?
Nay.
Oh, man. Can you change my vote?
No, it's fine. Can we have the roll?
The vote was 1 yay and 6 nays, so the motion does not carry.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, we will move on to item number 10, items for next agenda and date. The date for the next meeting looks like April 7th. Is that good and solid? There's nothing going to bother us there. One of the things I want to remind everybody, even with Earth Day and everything, remember, your personal stuff comes first. Your health, your family, community, work it up the ladder, state, national. So, but you come first. If you can't do it for whatever reason, then you can't do it. It's simple as that. And don't feel bad about it. Upcoming events we're going to talk about is Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration preparations, Pelican Island National Refuge. We don't have to talk about that. And C. So the only thing we're going to talk about is A, Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration preparations. If we can get a motion for adjournment.
Can I add one more just thing real quick?
No, I'm teasing. Go ahead.
We just went through a all-time record freeze, and it hit Sebastian really bad. So there are a lot of different types of plants, everything from sea grapes to mango trees, to a lot of avocado trees, to a lot of different types of palms, Christmas palms, some of the royal palms. I realize that the ordinance is not exactly enforced that strongly, but the ordinance, the tree ordinance for homes here is in writing. And because of this freeze, there are a lot of people who have lost a lot of their trees of one type or another. And I would like to suggest that the city, however that's done, puts a moratorium on the tree ordinance for 2 to 3 years to allow people to replant from scratch rather than being potentially forced to immediately replace dead trees.
But you don't need a permit to plant.
No, I understand that, but it costs money because of the size of the trunks that the ordinance requires for trees that are being planted. That's not free. So,
I'm sorry.
So I've read the ordinance, and the ordinance requires 4-inch trunk, this and that, and Felicia can probably speak to that. But I think there should be a moratorium for a time to allow people to figure out how they're going to pay, how they're going to replace the trees.
I suppose let me ask for clarity on this so I understand where you're going with this. Are you saying that the moratorium is on them having to meet their minimum tree requirement? Is
Yes.
that what the moratorium is
Yes.
for?
And I think a suspension of requiring a permit to remove frost-killed trees.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
It wouldn't apply to live trees, just those trees that are,
There should be no permit required to remove trees that have died because of this freeze. That's just an additional cost and additional hassle for homeowners here in Sebastian to have to deal with after this freeze. But then also a moratorium on having to replace those trees for 2 to 3 years.
You know, just to let you know, the permitting on removing trees
I know.
it's failed. You know, you don't really need a permit anymore.
it's on the
books.
It's on the books.
It's in there, and they just use every loophole there is.
And it's not unusual, the township I worked at, when we had a hurricane or we had a storm event, it's not unusual for townships, cities to suspend parts of their code because it's too onerous to the taxpayers. And this one right now is just going to be, because not only would they have to get a permit to take the tree, they'd have to bring an arborist in to prove that a tree of any size is dead.
Right.
Well, in the case of the way we handle tree removal permits with the city of Sebastian, we typically tell people that you come to us for a permit or you go to a certified arborist. If a certified arborist is already involved and has produced a letter for folks that are looking to have a tree removed. In most cases, based on the way that the Florida statutes are written when it comes to tree removal, that the city is preempted. So our involvement is no longer.
But there's still a
enabled.
cost to using an arborist. You can't just have an arborist come out to do your stuff for you for free. So it is at a cost to the homeowner.
Well, let's research that and come back.
So,
And
but as I
come
said,
back
it's
to
for
it.
next.
Yeah, for our next.
So you're asking this to be an agenda item
Yes.
for
Yes,
next
for
time
the
around?
next agenda.
Okay.
Any additional agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned.
All in favor?